What's up, my financially intentional people? I am so glad to be back with you and to be joined by Regina McCann Hess. And she is a financial expert in a couple of areas, but in particular, when it comes to personal finance as it pertains to women and divorce. So we're going to have some great conversations because I, of course, am a woman. I identify as a woman. And I have been divorced actually a couple times. And I have I am in this financial position in spite of the things that I've been through. And I know that it causes a lot of angst in women. A lot of women look at situations or relationship splits as a financial detriment. And as it can be, I like how Regina puts it, it can be also an opportunity. So I want to talk about all that. But first, Regina, welcome. And I want to dive into like your background and how you got into the finance space and then how you started working in this particular niche.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much for having me.
Of
I am
course.
so excited to be here. I've listened to your podcast for so long and I'm like, oh, I finally got here. I'm so excited.
Thank you.
Oh, goodness. And so how did I come into this field? So a long story short is when I graduated college, I actually graduated with a nursing degree. And a friend of
What?
mine, yes, I know it's crazy. And I was a critical care nurse for several years. And I
Nice.
did. I went back and took business classes because when I graduated, a friend of my family, a friend of mine, had wanted to teach me about the stock market. I grew up, we were poor. That is foreign. And obviously I have to worry about like eating, drinking and living. So that is like for rich people.
Right.
And so he had his way about him and he's like, all right, so your graduation present is going to be a stock,
Mm.
but you have to pick it out. You have to tell me why. You have to do the research. You have to tell me why you think it's a good company. Like he gave me all sorts of attachments to it. So I was like, okay, I'll do it. And of course, he created a monster. I actually loved it. And I was just like,
Yes.
oh my goodness, this is actually really cool.
Hmm.
So I worked as a critical care nurse and I went back and took the business classes just as a total, wow, this is really cool. I'm curious about it, never realizing I was going to change careers. And then 5, 7 years later, I decided, you know what, I'm going to give it a chance. I'm always going to have my nursing degree to fall back on, but I'm going to go check it out. And so I started my working world taking care of people's physical health. And now I take care of their financial health.
I love it. We have so many intersections, but I want to know what that stock was that you picked.
I'm not recommending it, but
Yeah, I've
it
heard.
was a long time ago. It was Bristol Myers Squibb. So I
Oh.
stayed in the healthcare arena with stuff that I understood so that I would have a better chance of understanding anything that they were talking about in these research articles. So it's a great way to teach young people coming into investing about what are you interested in? What things do you use on a daily basis? So that's how I talk to younger people about getting started investing.
That is exactly what I do for my kids. So my kids, my thing is if they're old enough to recognize a McDonald's sign or a Starbucks sign or a Tesla symbol, then they're old enough to invest. And so I'm like, is this something that you're interested in? So they have money in their custodial brokerage accounts to invest in those things. And then I gamify it to see who has the highest returns among the stocks that they pick
Ooh.
so that they get interested in the stock market early, but also it teaches them to not only be consumers, but to be owners. And so these are the companies, if you're going to be shopping here, you should own some of that. You should have a stake in this. And yeah, I love that that's what you teach because that's how I present investing to my kids at an early age in a way that they can understand. And my kids are not the 1 year old, obviously, but 1 year olds, 5 year old, and a 10 year old.
Awesome. I
Yeah.
love that. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. I love it. I love it.
So now you're in the finance space and you help women with their finances because as we know, women have unique financial challenges. Let's talk about some of those things and why it's super important for women to be invested and to stay invested.
I think we were talking offline before we hit record. I mentioned that women have an uphill battle. There's a couple of reasons. Obviously, one of the biggest reasons is we get paid less. We get 82 cents on the dollar that the men make on average. And I will tell you, when I came into this industry about 28 years ago, it was 82 cents on the dollar.
So we haven't made big strides, huh?
Has not made a dent. Nope, nothing. It has not moved at all. So you
Uh-huh.
have that. Then, in addition to that, on average, women step out of the workforce for 12 years for
Mm-hmm.
caregiving, whether or not that's
Mm-hmm.
for raising their kids and then going back to work and then stepping out again to take care of their aging parents. But we are the caretakers. We are the
Mm-hmm.
ones who stay at home and take care of the family. And that is great for family needs, but it crushes our financial situation for
Yeah.
many, many reasons.
Yes, yes, most definitely. I just recalculating all of my numbers since having a baby. I was a year or two away from being post-fi. What that is, you have
Mm.
enough in your retirement
Yeah.
so that you don't have to contribute to your retirement account
Oh,
anymore. Therefore, you can
that's
divert those funds other places. I was like a year or two away having a baby. Nope.
no.
We're gonna go a couple steps back. And I love my baby. I don't regret it. But it is one of those things that something that I had to consider. And now I'll probably have to work longer.
That's true. That's true. We do
Yeah.
wind up having to work a little bit longer to make up for it. Plus, we live 5 years longer than men. So we need even more money to
Hmm.
retire on. And it's just like one of those, you picture the Dust Bowl back in the cartoons where the Dust Bowl gets bigger and bigger.
Hmm.
It's just that mounting force against us. So we just got to overcome it and find a way to get around it.
Right. So you not only talk about financial challenges for women and how to overcome that, but you also talk about how to overcome divorce
Mm,
and look at it as divorce as this opportunity, right? Not to get married, to have the opportunity to get a divorce, but as instead of looking at it as something that is going to be a total detriment to your life, which it is, but to
right.
look at the opportunities in it. And when you frame that kind of mindset around it, it makes overcoming all the challenges that come with divorce a lot easier.
Right. And divorce is not a fun life event, right? It is
Yes.
the second most traumatic life transition that we could live through. And
Hmm.
I told you, it is ahead of losing a spouse through death because, and the reason for that is you're splitting friends, you're splitting assets. It's really a different experience. And it's really tough to get through. And I've been through it with so many people. The destruction that happens during that middle ground of trying to get to the other side is so difficult. But then when I talk to these same people, like a year or two after the divorce, they're like, oh, thank God it's over. And I am so much happier now that I can focus on stuff that's important to me and be take care of me and take care of my family and not have that type of person in my life. So it is looking through with the fog to get to the other side is difficult. But once you are on the other side and you're living on the other side, many, many women say, okay, it was worth it.
Oh
It
my
was.
God. And I can tell you firsthand, it is worth it. However, it was one of the most traumatic experiences of my life. And I often tell people, like, I really feel like they should make you go through a divorce like process to get married because people's true
Ooh.
colors come out. Like, you really see how that person reacts in stressful situations or situations that may not be favorable for them. So the next best thing, obviously, and I don't want anybody to go through a divorce, but is to get a prenup and go through that process of sitting down with the numbers, with coming up with a plan. Like, really, where do you see yourself? And like any challenges that come up in that situation gives you a preview of things that'll happen in relationships because financial issues are the leading cause of divorce. I think that again, to say divorce is hard as heck, but in getting through it and understanding that there is light at the end of the tunnel, I think it's important to give women hope that they will be okay. And that sometimes
Yeah.
that's all that they need to hear and understand that you will be okay through this process because it is crushing. It is soul crushing.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, it's not for the faint of heart, for sure. It
Not,
is not.
yeah.
And then making sure you have the right type of divorce professionals helping you makes a difference. And mediation versus going through the courts, that can also be an added benefit if it's possible. And then if you do have to go through the courts or having attorney versus attorney, picking the right type of attorneys that are going to be more like, hey, let's compromise and let's sit at the table. Like everybody come to the table and everybody has to give something to make this compromise work. Those are the ones that have the better long-term outcomes than the people who are just like, oh, we're just going to fight this out in court. And guess what? Those people don't win. There's no winning in court. There really isn't.
Not. It's not. You guys know better than this judge what you guys need in your lives. Why
Right.
would you leave it in their hands? Like, why
Right.
wouldn't you do everything to work together? And it sucks. Even in like child custody court, it's horrific. They
Mhm.
even tell you, like, you know what? The judge will even tell you, I'm not going to make the best decision for you. It's better for you to just go ahead and try to come to a decision because I'm going to just make a decision and you guys are going to have to live with that.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't you want to do that? It drives
Right.
me crazy. But I like that you said that. There is no winning here.
No, there isn't. And not
No.
only that, you have a complete stranger making a decision for you and your family. Who the heck thought that was a good idea? Come on.
Not a good idea at all.
Oh,
But
no,
yeah,
no.
it's there when you can't come to an agreement. But
Absolutely.
like be mature enough. Yeah. But
Yeah.
anyway, so when somebody comes to you to like work with you through a divorce, like what is your specific role? Because you're not an attorney. What is your
Hmm.
specific role? And what do you do to help people walk through that process?
Yeah, I know. Great question. Definitely not an attorney. I work with some great attorneys, though, and they have a tough job. I have a hard time making sure I don't take this home with me, the emotional side of it. I can't imagine being the attorney, and that's all they do, right? That's all they deal with.
Mhm.
So that's got to be emotionally draining. So when someone comes to me, I am talking to them about while they're married, they have all these assets that are they're piling up and growing together, and you're putting it all on the kitchen table because it's both of yours. Now we're going through all the financial aspects of your marriage and looking at that big pile of assets on the kitchen table, and I'm helping them determine, okay, we're going to split it into two piles now. It was one pile, now we have two piles, and which of those assets is going to be better working for you versus the spouse. And not all assets are the same. Even if the dollar value looks the same, it's not always the same because you have to think about the tax implications and the
Mhm.
accessibility and things like that. So I help people make those decisions. If it's going to be a 50-50 split, that doesn't mean you get 50% of every single holding or every item. They might get something, you might get a different thing, or you may split some things, but it's not going to be 50-50. Or if it's 60-40, same thing. Some assets are just not split down the middle or by the assets. So you have to decide which one works better for this person. A
Mhm.
lot of times I work predominantly with women. I work with men too, but mostly women come to me
Mhm.
for a divorce because most men have the relationship with a financial advisor. They feel like they already have somebody to help them. So usually it's the woman because she's not part of that relationship, even if
Mhm.
she has accounts with that person. I can't tell you how many times I come across that. I'm like, come on, guys.
But Regina, let's talk about that for a minute though, because isn't that crazy? Like you have this
Insane,
financial advisor. The financial advisor is
insane.
supposed to be managing your family's finance. So
Yep.
why wouldn't the woman have a relationship with that person? Why wouldn't she be able to go there and say, "Hey, which we're splitting up. Can you tell me which accounts we need to split and
Yeah.
how to do that?" Like, why is that a thing? That is
Oh,
crazy.
let me tell you, I want to bang my head against the wall. I mean, and it happens all the time, and it doesn't stop. And I tell all my financial advisor friends, I'm like, listen, you need to change your ways. You need to speak to the woman directly. You need to give them more eye contact. You want to give
Mhm.
them more of a power seat in the conference room. I sit all my ladies, if they come into the office, if it's a husband, wife, I sit the ladies at the head of the table because that is one of the few times they're ever treated respectfully or in a position of power. And I'm always like talking to my guy friends, my guy FA friends, financial advisors. I'm like, hey, you need to treat the women like a little bit more kinder, this, that, and the other thing. I said, otherwise they're going to come to me when they get divorced and I'm going to take them as a client. And they
Yes.
laugh at me and they laugh at me. And then, okay, I take the client. But it's a male dominated industry, right? Financial advisors. Another thing that hasn't changed since I've come into the business, 85% male. And they, not all of them, because there's some great guys in this industry too, but a lot of them will not treat the women like they treat the men. The other thing is they don't educate. They talk or they speak in jargon, which not even the guys understand, but the guys will play along and act like they do. The
That part
women
right there.
and the women will ask a question because they at least will say, I don't understand what
I
he
don't know.
just said. That's a totally different language. But then the advisor answers them in more jargon and then also sadly will speak down to them and somewhat chastise them for asking a stupid question, which I'm sorry, like I would just get up and leave.
You know what,
That,
Regina? Can I just tell you, like, that is the reason why I'm in the personal finance space is because I feel like, first of all, financial advisors have overcomplicated things. Not no shade to you. You know, I'm not talking
it's all
about you.
good. It's all good.
And then they talk down to people in a way that make them back out of situations. I work at a hospital where there's this big 6'3" like white guy that like uses all this jargon, and the nurses are like, I don't want to talk to him because he scares me and I don't know what he's saying. Like they're physically intimidated, and then they feel like this is a situation they're already feeling inadequate about. So then they don't want to talk to him. So I can't tell you how many nurses have not had their accounts set up. They've been there for 20, 30 years,
Oh
but were so
no,
scared to talk to the financial advisor that they just didn't do it.
that's
Or they just
awful.
don't know what's in their account, or they've even closed it, pulled money out of their account because of that fear. So
Oh,
that is so real, and it drives me nuts.
oh,
But actually, but I
you
go
see my
talk to him, and
eyeballs
he's
rolling
great.
back,
Yeah.
right?
I actually really like him, and I don't think he does it on purpose, but I like how you call him out, like your friends, and be like, hey, might not be intentional. This is like probably subconscious to you, but just to let you know, like you're turning these people off. Like these are great relationships that you could establish if you just came at it from this approach. And
Right.
so I like the approach which you take, where you empower these women, you sit them at the head of the table, and then you make sure that they feel seen and heard in these situations, which is few and far between. So kudos to you. But yeah, I just had to
Mm-hmm.
call that out because it is ridiculous.
Yeah, thank you. I agree. I agree. Guys,
Yeah.
do better. Just do better, guys.
Thank
We're
you.
begging. We're begging you. That's why I get a lot of women's because
Mhm.
of those types of situations. And my mom divorced when I was younger, so I'm a product of divorce, and I
Mhm.
saw what happened afterwards. It was complete financial disaster afterwards because she didn't have any guidance basically, but any good guidance either. But so my mission, personal mission, is to help as many people avoid that mistake that my mom went through and avoid the turmoil afterwards. Granted, there wasn't a lot of money anywhere. They were poor, but still there could have been a little bit better of a situation. She had to raise 5 kids on nothing, and family court wasn't what it is today. My dad wouldn't have gotten away with it today, but
Right.
it is what it is. So
Right.
my mission is to make sure I can help as many people who need help and avoid those situations. So my goal is that by the time they get to the point of signing their agreement, one, they understand what they're signing and what they're getting in that divorce agreement, like their split, and how does that impact them today, tomorrow, 15, 20 years from now. And really, are they going to be okay? And now, granted, they may not be perfect because you're dividing and conquering, right?
Yeah.
But if there's a way to make as okay as they can be coming out of the divorce and setting them on the right path, that is what I do on the financial side of the divorce.
So people come to you when they're just like, okay, we've decided we're going to get a divorce, and I want to make sure that my financial interest is protected. So they're at that point. And Divorces take a long time. Even if you haven't been married for a long time, trust me. They take
Yes.
a long time. Do they continuously consult with you through mediation, through rounds up to trials, if it ever gets to that point? Like, how closely do you typically work with your clients?
Oh, yeah, yeah. I will literally, depending on the situation, like the attorney, I'll work with the attorney as well, assuming
Mm.
they work with an attorney who is friendly with somebody who has the CDFA background, the divorce financial analyst background. Some attorneys, the older attorneys, I should say, maybe old fashioned, I shouldn't say older, the old fashioned attorneys may not want someone like me involved because it's like decreasing their billing time. Not kidding. But a lot of attorneys embrace someone like me in my role. And I have
Mm-hmm.
worked, like I said, I've worked with so many good attorneys. Literally, we'll rehash if they have a meeting, we'll rehash what it means, and I'll change the spreadsheet or whatever it is I'm working from and show the impact on the client. So we're working hand in hand with the attorneys. With mediators, it depends on if I'm an advocate for my client, I generally the mediator will not speak to me directly unless I come into a meeting, but I have to be
Mm-hmm.
careful because mediator is supposed to be Switzerland, right? They're supposed to
Mm-hmm.
be like not taking sides or anything like that. So I do go to some of those meetings, but I will preface it when I get to that meeting. I'm here as an advocate for spouse A. Most times with mediation, I'm getting my client ready for the mediation. And then when they come out of the mediation, we're regrouping on the conversation. What happened? What changes do we need to make? And then what should we agree to? What may not be a great idea? What do they need to go back to their attorney about or their mediator about? Nothing on the legal side will I touch. I always like, hey, Heisman on that one. You can go talk to the attorney. And sometimes I have to. Sometimes I say, they ask me some questions. I'm like, that is a loaded gun. I really can't answer that. I think you
Mm-hmm.
need to go ask the attorney. And I'd really be curious about how they answer that because I'm always trying to learn, right? There's
Mm-hmm.
always something to learn.
Yes.
And I do webinars or educational webinars every month with a divorce group, different professionals. And I am not kidding you. I learn some every single time we talk because there's always something, right?
That's why I do my podcast. It's my free education. Instead of going to school, I just bring people on like you to just educate me all the time. So
I
I am a
love
big
it.
fan of continuous education.
Absolutely. Always,
Yes.
always.
So what's the difference between what you do and like a forensic accountant?
Oh, yeah. Forensic accountant. I haven't had to use too many of them
Mm.
on cases, but they are your detectives to find out where missing money went. And there are sometimes, sadly, situations where that happens. I thankfully haven't had any cases where there's actually been money missing. There's been questions about things, but we haven't had to get to bringing a forensic accountant in. But they're basically looking at things and saying, you get that feeling when something just isn't right. You got to listen to your intuition. And that's when you
Mm-hmm.
bring, or there's a glaring red flag. Hey, there's money missing out of this account. A big chunk of money. Where did it
Mm-hmm.
go? And a forensic accountant is going to track that back and find out where it went, how it was dispersed, where it was spent, sometimes where it was spent, but where it went. Essentially.
Yeah, so they're the ones trying to find the money, and you're more of like the strategic planner around the money that was there. But if you need to go find some money, that's who you're gonna call. Okay.
Yeah, and where you're going to use them more and more is with digital currency. Because that's not going to show up in your brokerage account or your investment account. That is hidden, and you have to have the passwords, the correct passwords to get into it. And so that is, once it's there, it's a little hard to track, but you can track it getting there. So there's ways, but it makes it difficult.
Oh, good to know. All good stuff to know.
Bitcoin, here we go.
Yeah. I want to know, what is the number one thing that, like, a misconception maybe about accounts are splitting money that you come across? Is it something like, oh, he has so much in this 401k, but this Roth IRA doesn't have that much money. It's better to go after the 401k or something like that. What is that common theme that you're just like, actually, this might have is there a common theme like that you have to talk to people about? Or that you find yourself like
financially it's hysterical because some people and some attorneys too don't understand the value of certain accounts. Like, I'm going to ruin the surprise here, but I've actually had a case where a husband was fighting, arguing, oh, she can have the Roth, but I went to the Roth 401k. I went to traditional 401k. I'm like, okay, we'll agree to that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, he can win this one.
Dang, we don't want to give that up, but okay.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. All right, and honestly, I was like, he's in a much higher tax bracket. That money was so much more valuable to him, but he got it in his head that that was something that he was going to stick her with. I don't know, but I was just like, okay, if you insist. That's been funny when I've come across that, and that is not one time. That's happened a couple times. I'm like, the secret's out about Ross at this point. Really,
right.
Come on. I think the other thing is, and this, I think one of the bigger challenges, I guess you could say from both sides, is the house, because of the housing market and the interest rates and stuff like that.
Especially now, honey. Woo! Having to
my
up a house.
Goodness. Yeah.
I don't wish that on anybody.
Seriously, it's been awful. And I will say it has changed because let's just go pre-COVID, but it's just because COVID's like this big black hole. It could be 4 years or it could be 20, right? Just like big space of my life, I forget. So let's just say pre-COVID, when I was going through the divorce with a client, and again, usually a woman, it's preordained that she thought she wanted to be in the house, she needed to be in the house, and she had to have the house. And what she didn't think about was, could she afford to be in that house? And could she afford the lifestyle of that house and the upkeep of that house? And
come on.
And many people have run through money or their settlement trying to stay in that house because of emotional attachments. And I would have to have very tough conversations with them and say, okay, I know it's an emotional attachment. And think about, I know you're holding on to some good memories, but there's some pretty unhappy memories here too. And maybe a fresh start for everybody may be better. But there's also the fact that if you stay in this house, your money's not going to last as long. So those were really, really tough conversations. And those were the expected, this is a shoo-in, I'm going to stay in the house. Whether or not they were asking the right question, they weren't. Now it's, can I afford to leave the house? Can I get a house? Can I get an apartment? It's insane how difficult housing is right now, especially for people going through a divorce. We're seeing all sorts of crazy, not crazy, but creative solutions, which have actually worked for a time, but it's been a big challenge.
Man, like I said, I could only imagine. I would not want to have to go through that. Just to think about it, the thought just kind of makes me cringe on the inside.
I wouldn't want to do it. Do it.
So how does your fee structure work when you work with your clients?
When I'm working with somebody through a divorce, I just charge them a flat fee because I want them to call me. I want them to email me. I want them to talk to me when they're worried or upset, because when they're talking to the mediator or the attorney, that clock is ticking. And what's it, every 12-minute allotments? They're not always fully explaining what they need to the attorneys and mediators and what's really important to them, because they're worried about, oh my God, how much is this going to cost me? So that's why I stick with a flat fee. And some days I'm like, oh my God, I am losing money on this, because like you said, a divorce could be 6 months. It could be 2 years. So
that's the main reason why I ask, because it can last a long time. But I'm also a big fan of flat fee financial advisors, because when you get into that space of assets under management, or even people selling insurance products, it can look like a little sketchy, like the fiduciary relationship around it, meaning that how does that financial product actually serve you? Is it really for you, or is it serving the person? So in this case, I know it's a little bit different. I was trying to see, like, how would that even work if it was like assets under management? It would be like you would have to bring all their assets over to your firm. That seems like a lot. That is a lot.
No, that would be highly questionable if I did something like that anyway. While you're going through a divorce, my job is to make sure that I'm helping you make informed decisions and about what's going to happen. And when you're going through a divorce, you're not supposed to be moving money around. That's a red flag. So yeah, I would not speak to somebody about how they're investing their money or what is it doing, what's its performance, anything like that. When they're done their divorce, if they approach me, I'll have a conversation with them about that side of my business.
Mm-hmm.
But when they're a divorce client, that's all we talk about is the plan, how they're doing, all their divorce information. It's all about that.
I love it. I really like that situation. First of all, I did not know that there are financial advisors out there like you. I love the fee structure. But then I'm thinking about going back to financial advisors who have this relationship, this one-sided relationship with the spouse, and then also are managing their portfolio assets under management. So their best interest is always going to be to help serve that person in that relationship, even if they have a direct relationship with, because they'll get to keep the bulk of the money, right? Under their assets under management. Automatically, if a woman goes to that person to seek help, it's already like a conflict of interest because they're going to side with their buddy because they know, well, if he keeps all the money. And yeah, but you would think fiduciary roles, all of that kind of stuff, that wouldn't be a thing, but you could already see how that would bring up a conflict.
Absolutely. And there's two things on that.
Mm-hmm.
Not all financial advisors have the divorce designation. And let me tell you, even though I have a certified financial planning designation, I tried to do divorce planning when I just had the CFP because I had clients going through divorce and I was just like, oh, this doesn't work. It's not the same type of planning. So a financial advisor who doesn't specialize, have that niche in divorce is actually going to do more harm than good. The other thing is if one of my current clients came to me and said, hey, we're getting a divorce, like husband and wife, I would refer them out to another divorce analyst because I can't say, all right, I'm going to work with the husband or the wife. Unless I acted as a neutral, that would be the only way I could do it. And I have worked in neutral capacity before, and that's basically where I'm Switzerland. But I also think it would be very, very difficult. So I would refer that out to somebody I know who would take really a good approach with them.
But like I was saying, I'm in the financial space and I didn't even know that there were certified divorce counselors in this area, financial advisors. Like, how do people know if their financial advisor don't tell them that you're somebody that they should work with? Like, how do they get in front of you? How do you get most of your clients?
Referral from other women who went through divorce or other people who have gone through a divorce. I do get a lot of referrals from attorneys who have worked with me in the past because I do a lot of work for them to make sure that my goal is I want them to look good. I want the client to do well. So I make sure that I do a really good job. So they refer me business. Occasionally, I have somebody come to me because they Googled divorce financial analyst, but somebody had to tell them
like how do you know
that designation because it is not a common designation, at all. So yeah, occasionally I'll get somebody who Googles that, and I'm one of maybe 3 in the whole area that have that designation. So
is it statewide or do you work across the country?
I work in a couple states. Yeah, predominantly Pennsylvania because I know the divorce rules around here. But the crazy thing, each county has different rules. It's just insane sometimes. I've had
to be able to keep up with that.
Yeah. I've worked with clients from New Jersey. I've worked with people in Virginia and Maryland as well going through divorce. I can do other states, but I prefer to stay in states where I know the rules because it's a lot harder. And I've had people come to me from other states that I haven't worked in, and I've suggested somebody that I knew that might be a better fit for them. Because ultimately you want the best for them.
Yeah, definitely. And like I said, this whole thing is fascinating to me because I'm just like, shoot, now I'm going to be telling everybody. But it also speaks to the designation because I'm just like, oh my God, if every rule, you can't just have a CFP and be able to deal with divorces because you have to understand the divorce laws of all the different counties, not only the states, the different counties. And without that special certification, like how would you have been able to handle that? So I like that. I like that certification exists. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It is pretty cool.
Is it an attachment to your CFP? Like already have to have a CFP, or is it just like a certification for anybody in the financial space?
Yeah, anybody in the financial space, there's some attorneys and mediators who also have it. So you just have to have a certain amount of experience and a certain background to be able to get it. But you don't have to have your CFP. You don't have to have all the licensing that I have to be a financial advisor. You don't have to be a financial advisor to get the divorce designation. But you do have to take classes and tests and
Right.
take CE credits and stuff like that. So
Maybe I'll be one for
there you go.
California. Look
Oh,
at
no,
that.
there you go. Hey, California has a big divorce rate, so maybe not a bad idea.
And listen, I know I've contributed to it. Let's change gears a little bit because I do want to talk about your book,
Oh, yeah.
Superwoman. Like, I love it. I just want to know, of course, everybody needs to get this book, and I'm going to have it linked in the show notes. But what do you want women to take away from this? What are the biggest things that women absolutely have to know and have to take control of when it comes to their finances?
Yeah, absolutely. I love that question. The first thing is just be more part of the conversation on your
Thank you.
finances. One of the
Yes.
first things that I'm trying to get people to do is to go back and have a kitchen table conversation, because when we grew up, you were not allowed to talk about finances at all, especially
Mhm.
at the dinner table, right? It is taboo. And
For
but that
real.
created a generation of people who are like embarrassed to talk about finances, are
Like, why would you talk
very
about money? Why? That's so
right. It's
tacky.
one of the most important things in your life, right? Yeah. It's going to help do things for you. So it's very secretive. When
Mhm.
secrets don't really do well, they beget more secrets. I'm trying to bring out a kitchen table conversation. And I like to say, hey, do it on a Sunday morning, go out and have some brunch or breakfast, whatever you like, and then come back and do a quarterly review of pull off all the assets, all the statements and stuff, and just sit down together and go through it. And if you're not, that doesn't mean you have to be the one taking control of everything, but have the other person walk you through it. So one, you start to get an understanding of what you both have, and understanding of what type of position you're in. And what are your goals? Have you talked about your goals? Are they the same goals? Because a lot of times husband and wives and wives and wives and husbands, they don't have exactly the same goals, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But you do want to talk about them and make sure you're both aligned on some of them and working towards whatever those goals are. A conversation at the breakfast table, I think, is like non-threatening, and it
Mhm.
gets that conversation going. And if you do it every quarter, you're going to get a little bit more comfortable each time, and understand a little bit more each time. So that is like the number one thing I'm trying to do.
So what about our single girlies out here? What advice
Yeah,
do you have for
yeah.
us?
Then I think a great is get accountability buddy, and somebody that you know and trust, and that is not squeaky with the mouth that's going to go tell everybody your business, because it is still private information, but
Mhm.
somebody that you can trust, and that it's going to be shared between both of you. That person's going to come to the kitchen table with their information. You're going to come with yours, and you're each going to talk through whatever your financial stuff is and what your goals are. And having that accountability buddy helps you stay more in line, kind of like Weight Watchers. When you know you have to go weigh in, you're not going to eat the coffee cake or whatever it is that you really want to eat, but you don't, because you got to get on that scale. So those are the types
Yeah.
of things that can help.
I love that. Normalizing conversations about money, make it a regular part of your routine. And I think that's like this whole like thing about making money taboo only serves people that want to keep you broke. It does not serve you if you are really trying to build wealth. We have to start talking about money. We have to be open. We have to have relationships with people who we can talk honestly with about our money, but like staying quiet about it is not going to serve you in the long term. So I love how you talk about normalizing these conversations with your spouse and with your friends. It's super important. I did want to ask this, and this kind of goes back to the divorce kind of situation, but with your clients, have you seen where a prenup has helped or hindered, or what are your thoughts about prenups and how and in working with people through divorces, how have you seen them work?
I think prenups are a great idea. Oh
Mm-hmm.
my goodness. So if somebody has a prenup, they're not going to use me as much, because I'm the one trying to decipher what goes into piles, because they don't have prenups. A
Mm-hmm.
prenup will help avoid a lot of the pain, not all of it, but a lot of the financial pain of the divorce because you already
Mm-hmm.
know what you agreed to ahead of time. And there can be still some arguing back and forth, but for the most part, you know what you have agreed to and you know what you're going to walk away with. Especially I get it. We get married. When I got married years ago, my husband and I were just starting out. Neither one of us had a penny, right? So there was no need. Like we didn't think
Right.
there was a need. However, if I were to marry now as a second marriage or a third marriage, whatever it was, I would never get married now without a prenup because now I have to protect my babies. And women are better about asking for prenups than men. Men think
Mm,
differently. They're like,
mm.
oh, she's so cute. She's okay. She's not going to do that to me. Women are like, no, I worked hard for this money and my babies are going to get my money and not like my new husband, right? We've already
Right.
been through this and we're going to
Mhm.
protect our little ones. My little ones are not little anymore, but I'm still going to protect them and their rights.
Yes.
Whereas men are less likely to get that prenup, but highly recommend prenups, especially if it's not your first marriage.
Hmm. Do you ever, like, in working with someone, advise them, like, hey, maybe if they're not like all the way at the point of a divorce, but there's a chance that they might be splitting up? Do you ever recommend postnups, or just in your financial advising practice, do you recommend postnups for people?
I haven't been in that situation, but
Mm-hmm.
I do think postnups can work really well. And if I did, I would refer them to a couple of attorneys that I think would be, I'm thinking in my mind who they are right now, who would be really good at setting those up for people and helping them work out that language. And that could really stem the flow of future arguments.
Wow. I just have to say, Regina, this has been a great conversation because you've opened my eyes to a space that I did not even know existed, but I'm excited about because it's a positive resource that is empowering for both sides, for both men and
Mm-hmm.
women, to come out of like a divorce in a good financial position and understanding how those finances are going to affect them for the long term. So I love that. Anything that has to do with making sure you're on the right foot financially, I'm always going to advocate for. And to know that this is available for people, and for people who are in Pennsylvania, New Jersey area in particular, to work with Regina. But you are a CFP, you do have the special designation, so you do have such a wealth of knowledge. So I really enjoyed our conversation and what we talked about. Make sure you guys check out Regina's book. What is it?
Super Women Wealth, How to Become Your Own Financial Hero.
Yes. See, I was going to say superhero woman.
It's all good.
I'm a little dyslexic. But anyway, Regina, it was a pleasure talking to you. This is such a great conversation. Please hit Regina up if you guys have questions. Make sure you follow her on her socials. I'll have them all tagged in the show notes. But thank you again for coming on and for what you do. You are an asset to our community, and I love you for that. So thank
Oh,
you.
thank you. I'm so blessed to be here. Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun. I appreciate you.
Thank you.